Since its release in March, the enhanced version of Grand Theft Auto 5 has received numerous updates and patches aimed at fixing bugs, resolving issues, and refining the game's technical aspects. But perhaps the most significant of these updates, at least from a technical standpoint, is the one released this week, Update version 1.71, which introduced two new settings to improve the quality of the game's ray traced reflections and global illumination. So in this video, we'll examine the performance and visual impact of these new settings and also take a look back at some of the changes made since the game's release. So let's start with one of the most notable changes. When I launched this updated version of the game, I immediately noticed the DLSS looked a bit different in a good way. So I brought up the DLSS HUD or indicator to see what's going on, and the answer was immediately clear. The game now officially and natively supports the DLSS 4 transformer model with preset K, and as I mentioned in my previous video covering this game, DLSS 4 with preset K is a major step up from the older DLSS 3 CNN model, and that same improvement is clearly visible here with this official implementation. If you recall, the game had a major performance issue when going underwater if reflection quality is set above normal and water quality above high. Thankfully, this issue has been resolved. In fact, it was patched just a few days after release. Still, it's worth mentioning here as we are covering the most important changes since day one. Another change this time in the graphics menu is the updated description for the lighting quality setting. At launch, the description was vague and partly inaccurate, which led me to think this setting wasn't working properly in my previous coverage, and I was wrong. With the latest update, the description is much clearer and more accurate, so I want to revisit this setting and take a closer look at its performance and visual impact. As mentioned in the description, lighting quality controls two visual aspects. First, we have vehicle headlights. Here, when shining this car's headlights at this static object, we can see that normal disables the shadows from the headlights. Both high and very high enables the shadows back, but they appear as if the car has a single light source. At ultra, the shadows are more accurate, resembling a dual light projection, which better reflects how real headlights work. As for dynamic objects such as this car, the only difference compared to static objects is that shadows are only enabled for these elements when using very high or ultra, as you can see here. And unlike the player car, NPC headlights cast shadows on both static and dynamic objects only when this setting is set to very high or ultra as shown here. The second aspect this setting controls is volumetric lighting effect for certain local lights such as street lamps. This effect becomes visible under specific weather conditions like here, and it's enabled at all quality levels except normal. As for the performance impact of this setting, there is approximately a 5% cost when going from normal to very high and 7% when switching to ultra. Therefore, I generally recommend keeping this setting at least on very high. Now let's move on to the new settings, starting with high resolution ray traced reflections, which can significantly improve the stability and clarity of RT reflections, especially when upscaling, like here with DLSS quality at 1440p. The main drawback, however, is the performance impact. Enabling this setting results in a noticeable drop, with around a 16% hit in this area, and as expected, the performance cost increases at higher resolutions. For instance, when using DLAA, the cost increases to around 23%, and a similar pattern can be observed here as well. There is about a 10% drop when using DLSS quality and around 16% when using DLAA. As for the second ray traced global illumination bounce, enabling it similar to the previous setting has a significant visual impact. It allows for additional light bounces, leading to better light scattering and propagation, particularly noticeable in indoor environments and occluded areas. Despite the visual gains, the performance cost is relatively modest, with around a 7% drop observed here. However, it does come with some drawbacks. First, the game's denoiser struggles to keep up. The extra lighting detail introduced by the second bounce often results in more visible noise, as you can see here. Additionally, this setting is locked behind the more expensive Ultra RGGI. So generally for these new settings, I recommend enabling high-res RG reflections if you have enough performance headroom and you are using upscaling or you're playing at a lower resolution. As for the second ray trace global illumination bounce, I would only recommend enabling it if you are already using Ultra and you are willing to tolerate additional noise in exchange for enhanced visuals. Overall, while it's nice to see Rockstar improving the game's ray tracing effects, I believe they should have prioritized implementing a more capable denoiser like ray reconstruction, because it's clear that the current denoiser or denoisers can't fully handle the additional RG workload, which leads to noticeable visual artifacts on RGGI, and even the new high-resolution ray traced reflections can exhibit similar issues on certain surfaces like here. And I hope Rockstar consider implementing ray reconstruction in the future, and why not add frame generation as well. Finally, here is a quick comparison between the launch version and the latest update. While there is a measurable improvement on performance, the overall gains remain relatively minor, as you can see here. Before we wrap up, I just want to give a quick shout out to my Patreon. If you are able and would like to directly support my work, consider joining to get access to the highest possible quality of my latest videos, including this one. Thank you so much for watching and for all your continued support. If you like the video, leave a like, and if not, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.